If you're feeling stuck in your chess performance, chances are it's because you're making the same kinds of mistakes again and again. In this video, I'm going to share one of the key methods I used to overcome one of my longest plateaus in online chess when I was around 1500 rapid on chess.com. In order to keep consistently improving your chess game, you need to know exactly what you're doing wrong and you need to be able to fix those things in your game. Now, all chess players obviously make mistakes, but players at different levels make different kinds of mistakes. So for example, like a beginner player may make the mistake of just putting a piece on a square where it can easily be captured and you get no compensation for it. Intermediate players might be falling into more opening traps or not know the specifics of different endgame tactics. More advanced players may not be falling for simple tactics, but they may be making positional mistakes that come back to haunt them later in the game. So when my chess.com rapid rating was around 1500, I decided to start sticking to a much stricter chess study schedule every single day, and as part of that, I made a document that I titled Why I'm Losing. So at the end of every week, I would take about an hour and go back through all of the rapid games I had lost during the course of that week and just spend a couple minutes on each one, make a couple of bullet points that detailed basically why I lost that game, where it had fallen apart for me. Okay, and we're going to take a look at this document. This is like a historical document. I have not used this in several months. I think these games are when I was around 1500, maybe some 1600 games, maybe even later because I did advance pretty rapidly during this time. Yeah, you'll see it's literally just a Word document. I categorized them by the opening that was played, and then I also would put that into an Excel sheet, you'll see. And so I was sort of able to see which specific lines I was having trouble with. So for a while I was struggling with the French exchange. There was like a time where the C5 lines in the London were really getting to me, which makes sense because that's the most testing move in the London. So I just categorized each opening according to what made sense to me. It might not specifically match all the intricacies of an opening database, what they might name it, but that's just what worked for me. And then you'll see sometimes I just, literally just blundered my queen. Other times it was a little bit more nuanced, but just making one or two bullet points, sometimes a little bit more. So you'll see this isn't anything like super formal. I'm just using the most casual conversational language that makes sense to me that I can eventually go back and look at and sort of analyze all of this data that I'm collecting, which I did. So after I gathered all this data, I was able to see kind of the things that kept coming up. So for example, I noticed I was really struggling to see tactics in endgames, and so I started specifically working on endgame tactics, I think, around this time. It also showed me what openings I was having the most trouble with, which maybe didn't necessarily mean that I needed to work on that specific opening, but I needed to know more concretely the plans going forward and how to play those kind of positions once I got into the middle games and the end games that resulted from that opening. So like I said, this document is from quite a while ago. It's been several months since I've used it now, but just to show you exactly sort of the process that I went through as I was like creating it, I'm going to go through one of my recent losses to show you sort of just how quick it can be and how simple it is to gather all of this data. So I'm playing white. Okay, we have a London, all book moves. Okay, I don't know why I was trying to go for this Jobava thing. It works sometimes, but I don't think it works here. I know the knight is supposed to go here. Okay, so in the future, do not go for Jobava in this position. I think the best move was takes or knight here. Yep, that's fine. Okay. Now takes. Okay, that's fine too. All right, everything is good. Eval is equal. I'm going for this. That's a mistake. Best move, best move. Captures is an accuracy. That's fine. I don't really care about those. Okay. Pretty equal up until this point. I'm just looking at the graph because there is a large dip right about here. Actually, this is the small dip. Okay. I knew this was a problem right after I played it because I saw that this move was now a threat. That's a thought process issue. Don't make one move threats. Okay, this is a miss because of this move, which I believe he played, and then I cannot save the bishop. I think that's the problem. Yep. Okay. Yep. And then I just cannot save the bishop. Straight up. Okay, so far this is just a terrible game. I'm down a piece, but I believe there's a comeback at some point, which that's the best move. And then I wonder if taking was the best move. Yep, I was happy to see that. Sack the bishop because otherwise it's mate. Okay. That's an inaccuracy. I mean, I don't think that's worth writing down. All right, kick the knight. Best move. And then he blunders the knight. Was there no way to save it? Oh, it's just trapped. Yeah. Okay, well... Ooh, that's one way to protect it. It still looks pretty scary, though, because this knight just has nowhere to go. Okay, but he didn't play that. He played that and gave the knight back. And then he blundered. Why is it -7? What was the best move here? It's also important to look at your opponent's best moves. When you're actually playing a game, you also want to be thinking, you know, what is my opponent threatening? What might their next move be? So, okay, what was their best move here? Oh, just check and win. This doesn't win. I go here. Then this. Oh, but then this. Oh. Oh, yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, that's a problem. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so in the game we got this, then that. So they just did it in the wrong order. It's better to bring the bishop over from this side, I guess. Okay, and now this is winning. Not because of that, though, which is what I played. It's winning because of that. Okay. All right, trying to trade the queens off. After he blundered the piece back, like, I'm doing fine here. I forget where this all went wrong. Okay, tried to trade queens again. He said nope. Tried to trade him again. I knew I was better here because I had this open file and I was very well protected here. And then that's a blunder because I blunder my rook, which I can't even explain that one. I don't even know what to tell you. Okay, it's pretty lame to say, okay, I made a one move threat and got my bishop trapped, and then I just straight up blundered a rook. And frankly, that's not really the problem here. I think the issue more so is a thought process issue, which is, you know, obviously where a lot of things come down to. Chess is a thinking game after all. And I think in this case, the problem is that I was too focused on trying to start a really quick attack when I was being attacked myself. And so in the process of that, I sort of got tunnel vision and forgot that I have a loose piece that's not defended. Okay, let's quickly go through one more game. This one was like 95 moves, so we're starting kind of in the middle of it. Basically, this is where I'm seeing on the graph where things went wrong, and it is this move. Okay, so why is that? Show me the best move. Yeah, that's fair. I think I was afraid here that these passers were too scary. Oh, because I win the knight. And then I have the rook to sack, actually. Okay, I was thinking too short term, I think. Okay, that's just a rook endgame problem. And because I didn't do that, then I am in big trouble, and I think he ends up getting a passer through is I think how this game goes. Yeah, this is just terrible for me. I have to sack. So this is probably a case of underestimating the opponent's threats. I know also in my thought process, in this position, he had 30 seconds. I think the problem when I sacked the rook, I remember, yeah, he had like 38 seconds, and I was like, well, if I can sack the rook and even maybe sack my other rook, I should be able to hold this because I was up like 2 minutes on him, but that just wasn't the case. So as you can see, it really is all about thought process, which is why if you're kind of strapped for time, I would definitely suggest spending more time going through your own games than you do going through master games or, you know, watching videos of other people's games online. I want to emphasize that I'm doing this sort of quick, short analysis, this data gathering with my shorter games, my 10-minute games. For my over-the-board games, usually in tournaments, the classical time controls that I've written down, I usually end up spending way more time going through those games and even going through on each move and writing down my thought process and looking through different lines because I've spent more time thinking about that particular game and sitting with those particular positions. And so I definitely should be spending more time analyzing them and finding the mistakes in my long-term thought process there. Also, you saw as I was going through the game review, I was really just clicking on the best move button on all of my mistakes. I wasn't sort of making it a puzzle for myself, but if you would like to add to your improvement, that is definitely a way that you could do it. And usually when I am going through my games, immediately after I play them is sort of when I spend a little bit more time going through and trying to figure out what move I should have played instead before I click and find out the right answer. So the bottom line is you can go through these pretty quickly because at the end of the day, they are pretty quick games, but it's really not enough just to write down your mistake. You really have to understand the thought process and the why behind your mistake because you're very likely never going to get that exact position again, but if you sort of understand the idea that you missed, that's the kind of thing that you can apply in future games. So obviously this is not a quick fix. This isn't some magic pill that's suddenly going to make your chess amazing. You really have to put the work in. And even if you were to sit down today and do this for the last 50 games you played, it might not help a whole bunch if you don't remember your thought process as you're playing the game. So I'd really suggest doing it as close to when you played the game as possible. Finally, while it is important to analyze your mistakes and look specifically at your losses because fixing those mistakes is the only way you're going to get better, it's also good to look through the games that you won and see what exactly you're doing right so you can continue to do those kinds of things right, and it also kind of gives you a confidence boost. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and let me know if this works for you. I'll see you soon.